Welcome back to the Sworn Sports Podcast. I am your host, Braydon, and as always, I am joined by Alan Pena. And we'll just call him the pineapple up north for now. How's that? Alan, I think you're muted, buddy.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
All right. I was saying I'm kind of on the west side of the city, but we're both on the northern part of the state, so I'll take it for now.
We could call you pineapple up northwest, but it doesn't sound as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, Braydon. I get you. Yeah.
Well, it's great to be back and recording another podcast for the people. Life has its busyness, and we've been pretty busy since the beginning of the month when we had our friend Drew Kreisman on the pod, and we finally had a chance to sit back down and record. We planned to record last week, but I don't know what happened. I think we both just forgot.
I guess so. We both forgot, and probably we had our what's it called? Our plate full.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So that probably is understandable.
Oh yeah, and we're back. So we just couldn't be more thrilled than being back and recording a podcast. And we got a lot of topics we've been throwing around, trying to figure out what to throw out there. And we just started recording before we actually fully planned that out. So Alan, why don't you take the reins and just start talking about one of these topics, and I'll follow suit.
Okay. Well, I don't know where to start. There's been a lot going on since forever. We just had several spots clinched for the World Baseball Classic, which it is the first for a lot of these teams. Two of them, Great Britain and the Czech Republic, or I think now that it's Czechia, that they qualified. And really, it's going to be a very new opportunity. I'm not sure if there's major league experience in those rosters, but hey,
As Chisholm just announced recently that he's going to be playing for England. So
who announced?
Jazz Chisholm, second baseman.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, excuse me.
Oh, that's a young star coming up. So I think that'll be a good firepower that he will bring for Great Britain.
And not only that, we've got a lot of other major announcements to go with the World Baseball Classic. A lot of stars have been announcing who they're going to be playing with. So we can get more into that later, but it's looking like countries that are already in there. As I pull it up now, why don't I just show let's see if I can just figure how to do this. It's not like I haven't done this before. Okay, let's see. So I believe what we're looking at here is the teams that are in it right now. That's Pool B. I think this is it right here. Yeah, we're going to go with this. I think this is all the teams that have made it in.
Yeah, so far.
I think what's lacking from this list, I don't see the Czech Republic or Great Britain on this list yet. So I think this is the previous graphic that we've looked at before when we were looking at the pools.
Yeah.
But this is kind of what we're looking at right now when it comes to the World Baseball Classic, guys. Puerto Rico's in, Venezuela, Dominican, Israel is in Pool D. Pool C, you of course have pretty much all of North America, with Colombia from Central America coming in, and whoever qualifying team number 3 is going to be. Then you'll have over in the eastern half of the world, or Far East, you'll have the Netherlands, Cuba, Chinese Taipei, and Italy. Then in Pool B, you have Japan, Korea, Australia, and China. And I think somewhere in Pool A and Pool B, right over here, it's probably where we're going to see Great Britain and the Czech Republic fall in
Mhm.
as teams 1 and 2 that are the qualifying teams. However, they could also be put in Pool C and Pool D. I don't know as of yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think this will probably be updated once everybody's in pretty much.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm gonna do a little digging on this real quick. But yeah, I think it's great. Great Britain, like you mentioned, Alan, they're making their first ever appearance in the World Baseball Classic, and I think that's a great start because just 2 years ago we had the greatest rivalry in all the sports, perhaps with that's still going with Yankees Red Sox appear in London, and excuse me, and we saw there was a lot of baseball fans there. So it's kind of interesting to see who's all going to be participating and playing there. I think that'll be interesting to look at.
Yeah, it will be interesting, and also like these teams that do normally do not have a strong, they're not what they call a baseball traditional power. Like those are the ones that could be the most dangerous, where they could pull off an upset, like one game or possibly even two games. Like you look at the Netherlands, they have some, but like obviously not a lot. Look what they did, eliminating the Dominican Republic in in the first round. Like you can kind of say it's kind of like when South Korea in soccer eliminated Germany from the group stage. So we never know. You never know. And I think the World Baseball Classic, we've seen a lot of those, and I believe I won't be surprised if we see upsets here, because it's pretty common to see that in the classic.
It really is. I mean, you don't see country. We when we both found out that the Czech Republic was going to be in the World Baseball Classic, I think my initial reaction was, I didn't realize they played baseball over there. Like
Yeah,
for Czech Republic, obviously you think of basketball, you think of football or soccer, or you might think of rugby. Actually, I also think of hockey. There's some Czech players in the NHL currently. Um, but baseball, you don't necessarily think of baseball for the Czech
yeah,
Republic, but alas, here we are. So I think that it's great to have more diversity in this sport, Alan, and that's what we love talking about is the diversity in these sports and how it's going to help push baseball along. And like I told you before, last time we talked about this, Alan, this this tournament really has the potential to become the baseball's answer to um, international play for all these other big sports, whether it's the FIBA World Cup, the FIFA World Cup. For hockey, it's all the World Juniors and the Olympics. That's their major competitions. But also, I think it's great to see now baseball brought back their answer, and their potential with all these teams coming in, it's still up there.
yeah, and hopefully it does do that. We've seen it when there's international competition, it opens doors. People will look baseball more positive, and it's not like you're not gonna you'll see the personalities come out in in the World Baseball Classic. So use this momentum, and look, baseball right now is riding high, big time. It is like not just with the Baseball World Classic, but also hey, we got a player in Albert Pujols who, hey, he's about to hit 700 home runs as well. So the more momentum baseball gets, going into the World Baseball Classic, then it's gonna ride a huge momentum for baseball that they can carry it over, not just for the Classic, but into next season. And what the probability of seeing a players from the World Baseball Classic making an impact and going to the majors, I believe it's going to be very high. We've seen it with guys like Daisuke Matsusaka. We've seen it with Yu Darvish. We also seen it with Yuli Gurriel, who pretty much all those three guys were playing in their home country, in their home leagues, and they made a great impact in the World Baseball Classic. Major league teams were like, let's get them. And they've contributed ever since.
Right. And I think the main thing we got to look at here is how many games are left in the season. I'm getting a couple different, I can't really pin that down. I know there's at least three because they had Albert's got a 3-game series. Well, I guess this is the last 3-game series against the Padres where I'm seeing these stats because it's no longer, the 21st. It's probably it's the 22nd. So,
Yes.
you know, to have Albert Pujols, the machine gets so close to 700 home runs. He's at least 2 away. He might be 1 away at this point, depending on what I've seen. Last I saw, he was at 699. I just saw this morning, however, that he's at 698. So depending on what I'm looking at, he's right there. And how cool is that? That this guy who's when we talk about Dominican ball players, especially, how many players from the Dominican are in that echelon of all-time greats? Big Papi, David Ortiz is up there. Pedro Martinez, he's up there. And that Albert Pujols, he belongs on that Mount Rushmore of Dominican ball players.
Yes, he does. And there's a plethora of Dominican ball players that we can go on and on. But Albert, I think not just of Dominican players, but I would say of Latin American ball players. And he will be the all-time leader. Not just like, even though he won't be the all-time leader in home runs, but as far as Latin players, he's going to be the all-time leader in home runs, and or he already is. So the fact that the guy did it like with this team that pretty much he started with is great. I think, and this we can go on because I've had this strong opinion about it. I think had he stayed in St. Louis the whole time, I think that home run record would have been broken. But hey, who's me to say that? That we can go into a different that we can talk about it some other time. But I think how Albert has done it, like he battled. He had some tough injuries that he had to overcome, and he's finishing strong in what it is his last season.
And I think just 5 years ago, he hit 600 home runs. He got his 600th just 5 years ago. So in 5 years, he's had his up and down in these 5 years, guys. Let's be honest, but like clearly he still is swinging the bat, and this is arguably, we all know it, it's probably his last season in the majors. And Alan, this is one of the legends you and I grew up with. Many of the legends you and I grew up with are at this point they're no longer in the game. I mean, we talk about David Ortiz, Big Papi, Pedro Martinez, Derek Jeter, A-Rod, Todd Helton, Matt Holliday, Tulowitzki, Clayton Kershaw is still one of those few remaining from my childhood that I can honestly say is still in the league. Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina also there.
It's also Yadier's last season.
Right. And Yadier and Adam Wainwright made history recently, and I believe they have, as a battery, over 350 starts together. It's 250. It's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me double check. So about a week ago, I'm looking at it, about 325 different starts together. And that is the most by any battery, meaning catcher and pitcher, in MLB history. And that's another great thing. Molina, he's been in the league for as long as I can remember. Um, so it's crazy to see how much these guys have impacted the league. And this
Yeah,
is arguably both Wainwright's and Pujols' and Molina's last season and last hurrah together. As much as I don't like the Cardinals currently because of the whole trade situation that happened with Nolan Arenado, the fact that these three guys are on that team and they have a chance to not only make the playoffs, but make a deep run to the World Series again, that would be fun. I would root for them those three guys that entire postseason.
that wouldn't be a bad idea. And then plus, they are the core of the Cardinals, like of those great Cardinals teams that they made multiple World Series. They probably could have won a couple of those, but either way, those were that's that's what I was always talk about. They are the what we call the they've set the sample for like major to small markets. Like, hey, you don't have to be L.A. or New York or Chicago. You can be in good old St. Louis, and you can still get players as long as you have the right personnel, and they've had it for years. And even after they retire, they're still going to find a way to get these players and excel because that's what the Cardinals do. They know what they want, they know who they are, and they stick to that.
I would almost argue that, because of the history with the Cardinals, their prestige, how many World Series titles they have, I would argue they're on that upper echelon of a mid market to more of a bigger market. They cover practically the whole Midwest up until you get towards Wisconsin and Minnesota, up until you get up that. But other than that, they cover the entire Midwest. And that's a crazy thought too, So they're kind of on that upper echelon of mid market to big, almost to a large market based on their prestige, and that's what helps them get these players, in my opinion, is because of their market size and how they can do it. But also, all these players, minus Paul Goldschmidt, minus Nolan Arenado, for the most part, all of their players are homegrown.
Mm-hmm.
They go and they trade for these players when they need it, but a lot of their stars, Yadier Molina, Adam Wainwright, Jack Flaherty is up there. All of them came through the Cardinal system. They're the card. They have that Cardinal way ingrained into them, and that's just also amazing to look at.
It is. It truly is.
I mean, while we're at it, I don't know if he'll ever get close to the home run single season record, but Aaron Judge is also, he might not necessarily be an international ball player, but he's also having a chance to make baseball history. He's at 60 home runs right now. He only needs one to tie Roger Maris with with his 1961 record, and then he just would need two more to hit the most home runs in AL history, and he needs another 10, 15 more to actually get close to McGwire, Sosa, and Bonds.
You probably might need around 16.
Yeah, to tie Bonds, I think he needs 15.
Yeah.
And to break it, he needs 16. And I don't think there's enough games left for him to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
You never know, though.
You never know. Yeah, but either way, it's a historic run. It's been amazing, and they're also winning. And I think that's the part where we're forgetting. Like, hey, they're leading the AL East, and they have a chance to even contend for a World Series, typical of the Yankees, which they have not seen that in a couple of years. Where they're good, but still, yes. Either way, that's the part that we're missing. That yes, he is hitting a lot of home runs, close to the record of Roger Maris, but also, hey, the Yankees are winning, and they have a shot.
To the detriment of all baseball fans everywhere.
Well, that is true. Yes, it is. It is. But still,
it feels like sometimes if you're not a Yankee fan, you have a hard time supporting anything good that comes out of New York, except for the 2000 that 2001 World Series run the Yankees had.
That's true. But still, like either way, it's great. And as I said before, I think baseball it's coming back to like, hey, you know what? I would watch this, and this is where stars have to show, hey, like we too we too are marketable, and this is just a start. If they can keep this up, keep just keeping positive with baseball, then people will talk and they will tune in. So it's exciting that it's happening, and let's and hopefully baseball keeps this momentum going.
Right. And to add on to that, now the discussion really becomes who's your choice for MVP, Alan? I mean, Shohei Otani, he's the perennial MVP with Mike Trout, right? You basically have to beat those two guys pretty heavily in order to win MVP. You know, Shohei Otani, he pitches, he hits, he pitches, he hits. You know, we could keep saying that back for multiple times. But the crazy thing is, he's still performing. He has a chance to win AL Cy Young this year too, and that's another crazy thought. Is I don't know if he won it last year. I know he won MVP, but does he have a chance to add the pitching MVP to his echelon, as well as winning MVP back to back? I don't know the last time an MVP was won back to back in baseball.
It has happened. I can double
I know
confirm.
it's happened. I just don't know when the last time is.
That is a good question. I wish we had a research team to figure that out. But
If you're
um,
interested, email us at pineapple22media.
yeah, that's true. Yes, yes, do that. Yes, but either way, I think to be honest though with Shohei, I would give him the Cy Young. But even though like um the team has not been performing well, and also their owner is going to sell the team, which it's going to be a transition, which will happen next year, and there's going to be a lot of question marks with them next year. But I think for this season, I will give Otani Cy Young MVP conversation. Like you know how I view MVPs, like as and and to be honest, I think I would give in this situation because what Aaron is, if he breaks the record, the AL record, I think I would give it to Aaron Judge,
Oh, I would too, no doubt.
which I think he will.
And here's the thing. So, in just a quick 1 minute Google search, it looks like the last back-to-back MVP was Miguel
Miguel Cabrera.
Cabrera back in 2012 and 2013. Um, Barry Bonds has the most at 7. A-Rod won it a couple times. Albert Pujols, he's won it 3 times. But the back-to-back most recent, based in a quick,
Miguel Cabrera.
was Miguel Cabrera. And here's the crazy part, right? Like Shohei has a chance to do it, but as well. And I mean, we're talking about it. And honestly, I think with the historic run Aaron Judge is having, and the fact that he's a free agent next year, let's keep that in mind. I don't think he signed an extension with the Yankees yet, and I think this is his last year of his contract. But if that is the case, he's going to get paid big this offseason.
Oh
And
yeah.
and he might leave New York. Now, personally, if I think he could go to Colorado and hit all these home runs, and that'd be great. But that's a different topic. But as we look at it, honestly, if he breaks that AL home run record at up, which is 61, which for the longest time was the single season home run record back until 1998, right? Judge has to win the award, in my opinion. Shohei Otani, he's historic in his own right, being the Babe Ruth of our era, right? Like no one else has been doing consistently at the level that Shohei's doing. Arguably, I would say his season was a bit better last year. Arguably. I mean, he's having
Yeah.
a great season this year too. But arguably last year was a bit better.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, I think Shohei Ohtani is mostly in this discussion because of what he does when he throws the pill and then when he hits it. That's why he's in this discussion. I honestly, and that's no joke. I'm not trying to discredit him or anything. I just think that's mostly why he's in the discussion, but his stats are also there to back him up. But then we look at Judge and what he's doing. He arguably could have won it with Rookie of the Year back in 2017. And you can go back and forth on whether or not Altuve actually deserved the award back in 2017 with knowing what we know now about the Astros back then. But this year, I think if he doesn't get that award, it's a crime. And I think he also has a chance to win the Triple Crown, which also hasn't been done since Miguel Cabrera did it.
Yes.
And there's a precedent in MLB that if you get the Triple Crown, you're MVP.
Yeah.
So if he gets Triple Crown, he's MVP. And right now, I think he's the batting average leader, he's the RBI leader, and he's the home run leader. You can't take that lightly.
No, you can't. No. It's like no question right there. Like, okay, you did that, here you go. You won it. And also keep in mind when Miguel Cabrera won it, the Tigers were also winning. Big time. They were. And
Tigers should have arguably run a World Series in that run they had in those
probably,
years.
but we'll talk about them at a later time.
That's another series we should do is, you know, what should have happened.
Yeah, that's another series. Yes.
But it's just crazy to look at these two guys. I mean, and we bring this discussion because of our focus with international players, and obviously Shohei qualifies for that. But when you have Aaron Judge making the history, you have to discuss, okay, you look at their seasons, which is meaning more. And honestly, the way Judge's season and Albert Pujols' seasons, Pujols is MVP in the National League. I don't care what anyone else says. Pujols is MVP, especially if he hits that 700 mark. Not many ball players can say they hit 700 home runs in their major league career. Pujols will be one of them. He's MVP. Changed my mind.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree to that. But
you can't handle the truth.
I couldn't help myself, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, and that's not the biggest thing, right? Like, you look at it, baseball, it almost feels like we're back in that 1998 series or season. You know, like baseball was on the fritz the past few years, especially with that CBA. Back in 1994, the strike happens. The Expos could have won the World Series. There's a few, the Yankees could have won the World Series that year. There's a lot of teams that could have won the world that were doing well that year that should have arguably won the World Series. A lot of people say what should have been the Expos. I'll listen to arguments. What changed that? The offensive output of the 1998 season. The McGuire, Griffey Jr., Sosa home run chase. We obviously look at the Sosa and McGuire chase, but Ken Griffey Jr., the kid, he was in that for a long portion of the season.
Yeah.
We forget that. I forgot that.
That's true.
I gotta watch the ESPN 30 for 30 or documentary on that season just to be reminded that Griffey was in that.
Mm-hmm. He was.
We just don't talk about it as much because Sosa and McGuire were just right there. One hit a home run, the other hit a home run. 1-1. In fact, and then even in the same games when they played against each other, because Cardinals, you know, they play 19 games a year. Bam, 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 bam. It was like, okay, he hit one. Who's the next guy going to hit it? We're looking at that right now again in a different race. You have Judge. Can he hit another home run? You have Albert Pujols. Will he make 700? That's what brings these fans back. That's what reminds fans what baseball is all about. And it's back. And, you know, baseball, Major League Baseball, owners, Rob Manfred, if you're listening to us on this, figure out how to capitalize on this and let it stick. You know, rule changes, you know, bringing in the pitch clock, making the bases larger for stolen bases. That's an idea. Okay. But what brings the fans back is these chases, is these historic moments. And you got to have your large markets or superstars do it. Find a way to get Mike Trout and the Angels into the postseason. If you want baseball to truly, be up there competing with the NFL, NBA, and arguably now even the NHL, you need to have those Angels make the postseason. And gosh darn it, they tried. They extended the postseason this year. There's 3 wild cards right now, and the Angels still find a way not to make the postseason. You have 2 of the best players to ever play the game, Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. Find a way to get them in that postseason. Shouldn't be that hard. Yes, they play in a division where the Mariners are up and coming, and they're doing really good. The Astros, they just keep winning. As much as we hate it, they keep winning.
Mm-hmm.
The Rangers and the Athletics. There's no reason why the Angels should not be in at least 3rd place, racing for that wild card, one of those wild card positions. But I think they're in 4th or 5th place in their division. They're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
They are.
And it's just like, why? Why do we have to waste 2 of the best careers that baseball has seen ever? Some of the best players we've ever seen. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know what to say on that. There were even talks of Ohtani getting traded, but didn't happen. But we'll see where it goes. Like you mentioned, I agree with 100% what you said. Capitalize it. Like I've seen when baseball has capitalized and they've done well, but I also see baseball where they mess it up and it sticks with people. So if you capitalize, like you know what they said in Field of Dreams. If you build it, they'll come. This time, if you capitalize, people will come. And even those that of the streaming generation, they'll be like, oh, you know what? Let me stream to that as well, and get going with that. And probably instead of and I know this will continue. There'll still be people streaming to Netflix and Hulu, Disney Plus, all that jazz. But at least, hey, they'll be like, oh, let's see what's on tonight. Let's see if there's any and if how so and so is doing, and they'll pay attention.
Right. I mean, I just looked at standings, and the Angels are in 3rd place in their division, but they're 64 and 80 or 65 and 84. They're 33 and a half games back from the 16 and a half games back for one of those wild card positions.
No, it's not cutting it.
So if you're in the AL West right now, you need to find a way to be in the top 2 spots. Otherwise, you're not going to be making the postseason. You have Ohtani doing incredible things. Mike Trout, if he can keep healthy, you'll do good. And arguably, I think that what kind of helped derail the Angels season was Mike Trout's injury problems this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, having to go out for a while because of a back problem, I think that derailed the season and the team lost a little morale. I mean, I don't think that without Mike Trout, the team just can't do it. But Angels, man.
Yeah.
And that'll also go for MLB. If they can't capitalize on this season, come back, have another great season somehow next year, it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
But it really will. And I think there's no doubt about it. But Alan, I think as much as we love to talk about baseball, we started with the World Baseball Classic. We're talking about these historic runs. The Mariners are making the postseason, it looks like, as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
Last time they made that was 2001. That's the longest playoff missing streak in history. And so we look at the postseason picture right now. The Mariners are in it. The Baltimore Orioles, the laughingstock of the league for I don't know how long, are in it. And what's happened to baseball?
That's what it is.
What is it? 2013?
What, the Orioles?
Yeah, the Orioles are 4 games back of Seattle right now. So they have a shot to make it, but Seattle's holding strong. Tampa Bay's got that second wild card. Toronto's got that first wild card. Toronto has redeemed themselves, and so has Seattle and made as of right now has made the postseason. As you said, Alan, the divisional leaders are the Yankees, Cleveland, and Houston. Houston's already clinched at 99 and 51. That's pretty ridiculous. In the NL playoff picture, Atlanta's clinched a playoff spot. The Mets have clinched. The Dodgers, we're not going to talk about them.
Why? That's like 100 wins, like
103. Yeah,
it's like parallel.
There's no reason to, you meant.
Well,
they're just they're just a machine. They just, they start the engine at the beginning of the year and then they don't run out of gas until, of course, the playoffs, and then Clayton Kershaw messes up.
Well, he's different. So, but we'll get into that later.
He was different in 2020. I will give you that. So we'll see if that sticks. Atlanta, San Diego, and Philly, they're also making the postseason. I think it's crazy. We all thought 3 of the wild card positions were going to come out of the NL West this year. But I think I also said, you watch what the NL East will do. You might see 3 teams from the NL East making it in the postseason at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Where we are at the end of the season, 3 NL East teams are making the season. Milwaukee, they have to find a way to make some ground up on Philadelphia. And that's that. Miami, I don't know what happened to Miami. I thought Miami would have been one of those wild card teams. They've been pretty good lately.
They're interesting.
They're coming up and everything. So looking at the standings, baseball's having a great season. This is what baseball needs.
Yeah.
The playoffs are really good. The hunt for the Commissioner's Trophy is also probably my second favorite playoff pitcher in all of sports. There's not much better. I mean, because the game is so different on every single day in the postseason. You can have a pitcher's duel in game 1 and it'll be 1-0, and you're like, what the crap just happened? And then in the next game, it could be 20-19, and the other team came out on top and all the pitchers were just crap. You never know what's going to happen. Whereas in the NBA, when we look at the postseason, we're just go, oh, it's going to be this team. They'll be in there regardless. This team will be there regardless. You look at it and you kind of already know what's going to happen for the postseason. NHL's like that, where you honestly have no clue. And I think that's what makes postseasons truly great. It's those two things.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think, as we transition out of baseball, Alan, we have two other seasons coming up here soon that we have articles coming out on our website highlighting some things people will need to look out for. Might as well just record a quick episode about that.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.